You waiting on him?
Welcome to the Dubbcast. How's everybody doing out there tonight? SELAH shouting out to you from the Adonai Studios. Big love and unity from the Dubb.
Hello?
Just stay there. You'll be good.
Hey, I can hear you now. Okay, hi.
Hold on a second, Jason.
Okay.
Let me open up the show. Welcome to the SELAH Dubbcast. How's everybody doing out there? SELAH shouting out to you from the Adonai Studios. Big love and unity from the Dubb. Everybody's feeling good out there. I'm SELAH shouting out to you from the SELAH Dubb channel here on YouTube and Facebook. Check us out on Anchor and all your major platforms, Spotify, iTunes. You got a kitty in the background. Big love and unity from the Dubb.
Hello?
Stay there.
Hey, okay, hey.
Hold on a second.
Okay.
The SELAH Dubb. The SELAH Dubbcast is brought to you by Carl Heavily Surf. Don't miss it. Check them out at carlheavilysurfboards.com. Everything from 10-foot long nose riders to pocket thrusters. Handmade on the Crystal Coast by Carl Heavily himself. carlheavilysurf.com. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the Dubbcast. We've been having a great time. This is Dubbcast number 20 with Jason Herring from 10mm Omega. Stay tuned.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing good. Hold on a second, Jason.
Okay. Hey, you're kind of clipping in and out.
Okay, hold on.
Okay.
What's up, everybody?
Perfect.
All right. What's up, everybody? SELAH shouting out to you from the South End. Hope everybody's feeling good out there. We're coming to you loud and clear on Spotify, Instagram, on YouTube and Facebook. Don't miss it on iTunes as well. This is the Dubbcast, shouting out to you live. I'm SELAH. I want to give you big ups and unity from the Dubb. We're here to raise the vibration. We got a special show for you tonight with brother Jason Herring from 10mm Omega Recordings and the Mystery Plan, a great friend of mine. Big thanks for tuning in the last couple days with the Marley cast. It was a great time indeed. And last night we had some special music for you on Dubbcast number 10. And tonight it's going to be a fun time indeed on the Acousticast. I'm breaking out some music from back in the early days of SELAH, as well as a brand new one. So stick around for the Acousticast on the second segment. Today, we are gearing up for a special. Here we go. Hold on. Let me get this live on all platforms. All right. We're live on Facebook as well. All right. How we doing tonight, Jason?
Hey, we're doing great. How are you, Mark?
Doing good. Can you hear me?
I can, loud and clear.
All right. Tonight we're with Jason Herring from 10mm Omegas, the Mystery Plan, Latino Chrome. He helped me produce some of my funnest recordings of all time, and he's been a best friend since the early days growing up here in North Carolina. So,
oh yeah, we go back 25 years probably at this point.
Yeah, so we're here to have a little chat with you tonight, and how you've been hanging out here in the crazy year of lockdown.
Well, it's been okay over here. You know, luckily I have a studio in my house. So other than after the first part of the lockdown, you know, being sad and, you know, watched all of the Netflix and everything, I got back into, you know, writing and producing some stuff. So that's been good.
Yeah. Now, you have a group called the Mystery Plan, but I guess you haven't really been doing much with them this year. I guess you kind of slowed down. But
Yeah,
have you been
yeah.
doing any music stuff on the side?
Well, just working with Occam's Portal, we have signed them to the record label, and they're kind of like Funkadelic meets Gil Scott Heron meets Tricky kind of stuff. So I'm working on producing that record and just getting the new Mystery Plan together and a new compilation that comes out in a few weeks. So I've been keeping busy with all of that kind of stuff.
You know what's cool about you is that you always are on the most cutting edge of the high tech music and techno house. And if you ever need some new whatever's new going on in the music world, you just come to Jason and ask him for some production help. And he is on the cutting edge at all times.
I've always felt, and we've had the record label 10 millimeter Omega Recordings for 21 years now. And I've always felt that there is all of that great music right here in Charlotte and in the Carolinas, So, I love the talent that our area has to offer. So it's been my job to try to get all of that new and cool stuff out there from our area, the Carolinas, really.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Now, you grew up in Charlotte. Did you grow up in Charlotte or Columbia?
Well, I was raised in Blythewood, South Carolina, right outside of Columbia. And my dad got a job at a radio station here in Charlotte in 86. So I was 15 when we moved up here, almost 16, I guess. And I've been here ever since.
Oh, yeah. And so you got to see the early. Did your parents, were they the parents that let you go out to the Coliseum and see the concerts and the Park Center and all that stuff?
Oh yeah, my dad was in the business, so my dad took me to all the big shows, and I got to meet. I grew up meeting Kiss and hanging out with the Four Tops and Daryl Hall and John Oates, and stuff like that. We were invited to Tina Turner's 50th birthday party in Columbia, which was crazy. So I kind of grew up in the music business because of my father, and that's always been really cool.
People don't realize that Charlotte was a pretty cool little stop, that we had the kind of in between DC and Atlanta. So we would have this little stop in the middle, and so all the bands would come through, like Van Halen and even the Talking Heads, and we saw REM grow up, and we got to catch all the bands when we were little kids. I even saw the Kinks play. Did you catch any of the Kinks concerts?
No, I did not. My first concert I ever went to here in Charlotte, or ever, just like at a club, was Mo Tucker and Half Japanese at the Milestone Club. And I think that was like 89, maybe 88. The first album I ever bought when I moved to Charlotte was Sloppy Joe in the Random Rhythm section. And I bought that on vinyl. And like, what is that, 89 maybe? Was that right?
I guess so.
No, that might have been 87, 88, yeah.
That's funny. Well, that's, the Milestone. For people who don't know, and across the country, the Milestone was our teen club when we were kids, but our teen club was like CBGB's, and all the punk rock bands that had to play between Atlanta and DC would stop off. Everybody, even the Go-Go's and the Police and all these bands, the Talking Heads, bands that were playing the little club circuit, came through our spot. So when we were growing up, it was the punk rock bands, and so we would have the Bad Brains or Black Flag, or we would have crazy bands.
Fugazi at Milestone.
Yeah, Fugazi. We would have the craziest bands that would come through. And so as little kids in the early skateboard, punk rock, whatever world we were in, we had the Milestone, and we had the most incredible rock and roll upbringing. And all of us kids were always at all the shows, and so we had this little unified little scene because there was nothing to do in Charlotte. So at that time in the 80s, You had to make your own fun. So we would sneak out of the house and sneak our car down the driveway without the lights on and go to show we were 16. I remember, listen this story. I remember one time that we were at the skate ramp in UNCC. And so we were coming back from the skate ramp in the afternoon, and my friend said, let's go by the Milestone. The Bad Brains are probably doing like a warm-up. And so we went by the Milestone, and while we'd seen the Bad Brains a couple years before in the Church of Musical Awareness, and they had their hair cut, they were like little punk rock kids. But now we get there, and the Bad Brains have become these Rastafarians. And we went to see them. There was nobody in the place. They were just doing a sound check, and they had the side door open. And we just sat there by the side door. And it was the first time I ever heard a live reggae with super bass. I was probably like 15. And and they were playing, like, you see a band at the Milestone and they didn't know what they were doing. All the bands were kind of terrible. But this was like, these guys were like amazing jazz, like heavy metal, like reggae. They were doing I was like, this is the kind of music I could never play. But at that time I was like thinking that reggae music was the height of all types of music, because it did something to, like, lifted my soul. The other dudes I was with, they didn't know what they were like, whatever. I was like, you got to stick around for this. Is incredible, So I got to hear the Bad Brains in a sound check, and that's definitely what led me to become a reggae, into Rasta and all that,
Yeah.
But anyways, you keep going. I will keep talking to you about. So when I moved away from Charlotte, and you stayed in Charlotte, and you actually took over, you were deep in the scene making music and stuff, and you took over the little record store. That was kind of like your first little business.
Milestone Records.
The end of vinyl. So tell us about Milestone Records.
Well, I had worked there for years when Samir owned it, Samir Shukla.
And that was part of the Milestone Club. Those guys took the name and kind of were working in affiliation, and then separated
back
from the
in
Milestone
the day.
Club.
Yeah.
Go see these bands at. So go ahead.
Yeah. And that's actually where I bought the Sloppy Joe and Random Rhythm section LP, was at the Milestone when it was on Wendover.
That was my first band. That's my band before SELAH. If y'all don't know, Sloppy Joe was our little high school band. But go ahead.
And so, of course, being from a music family, I was always drawn to music. I started working in record stores when I was 18. And after, Record Exchange and Repo and Lord knows, whatever else is going on, I worked for Samir at Milestone, and he was going to get out of it. And so I ended up buying it from him.
And that's crazy, because it was a big gamble for you to take it on at the end of the vinyl and record. I mean, it was kind of like
at the very beginning of buying music online.
Right. You had you got, what was that? Napster.
And then Manifest came into town too.
So Manifest was another underground record thing. Is that the deal?
Yeah.
And
I was doing that, and that's when I started the record label too at the same time, because I figured, I could run both out of the shop there on Central Avenue, in Plaza Midwood. I could, that could be the base of operations for the record label. We could also have a record store there, it would be great. And it was for a few years, but
I feel like the 90s was a magical time of exploration, and everything was changing so fast.
Yes.
That you just had to kind of go with the flow, and the things that happened just happened within like little 2 to 3 year periods. But technology and things were changing so fast that we'd have these little magical moments.
Yeah, they would go in like 3-year bursts. You're right. I never thought about that. Yeah.
And it was incredible, though. Like, I bet you had an incredible time there for a minute.
Yeah. I mean, yes, indeed. I mean, I started playing music, the year, my freshman year in college. Yeah. That was in 89, 90. And it's been a magical time. So the 90s doing all that, we got to play with Spiritualized, and we got to, do His Name Is Alive, and we opened for Vertical Horizon.
These are all funny, like 90s bands, but they were huge back then.
They really were, man.
They were packing 5,000 people, 10,000 people in the amphitheaters and stuff. So
Yeah, well, we got to play the Weenie Roast one time, the one that Faith No More played, and that was like 22,000.
God, yeah.
So
just a different moment, and it was like the end of the rock history, and rock was at its. I mean, the whole live thing was at its peak for all of us.
You are right. It was peaking hard right there at the end of the 90s, man.
Everything before 9/11 was kind of like an explosion up till 9/11.
You're right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah,
and that was almost like the pandemic. Now everyone had to take a year or so off, really, and then what I noticed is the DJ world came back, and that I know you came back in the DJ world, and you came back in the more high-tech techno world, and so you kind of fit right in. And
well, you know, I like to go back and forth. I mean, there with technology now, like with the new song we have coming out called "Wonder Why," you know, we kind of wrote the beginning of it, you know, to a click track, and I sent it to the people in the band, and they could sit around and learn it. And they came over, and we had one masked practice so we could all get tight. And then I took them into the studio one at a time on different days, and we recorded their parts. And, you know, we could kind of do it like a live band that way. And then, yes, I have started experimenting with beats more and going into the more dance or, you know, electronica realm a little bit more as well. So it's been a little bit of both.
And that was Latino Chrome came about, what, 2003 or 4?
Latino Chrome was 1990.
Oh, that early.
7 to 99.
Okay, and then it was like Farfalla and all the other stuff.
And then it was Interstellars and Farfalla, and then the Mystery Plan, and Muchacho. I was in Muchacho, and you know, I was with SELAH Dubb on a tour once. That was fun. Remember that time in 2004?
Yeah, because you were See, what people don't know is that Jason was my magical producer in the time when I went from a live roots, just all live band, to he taught me how to go more techno, more electronic, which I always wanted to. And he taught me how to utilize AI, basically. And so that's what, you know, I utilize the AI now to make it work. And so he helped me take some of my music and gave me tracks to work with. And so I consider Jason my original real producer there. We produced China Mall and a song or two, and but that was also a time, you know, I was going through a life change. So Jason was there when I was like, you know, my life was crazy, so I needed just like a mentor, somebody to talk to. So like you were there, you kind of saved my life in a crazy time. But now I would not have SELAH Dubb without those recordings, and you guys are working with a motif and working with drum tracks, and that just led me right into changing from SELAH, which was an all roots group, to SELAH Dubb. And you taught me everything I knew, and kind of led me over to groups like the guys up in DC, what's their name?
Thievery Corporation.
And bands like that, you know, just like stuff we had already been listening to, like Massive Attack and stuff like that. You kind of taught me how it worked, and I was like, I always wanted to do that with my reggae. So now I'm fully electronic and live. I can do anything I want thanks to kind of your direction you pushed me in. So
oh man, well that's cool. That's awesome.
So then Jason came on tour with me and played keyboards and stuff, and that was the time we were just like, all of us were kind of floating around, and
we were just balls to the wall, baby.
2004.
And then, hey, and I'm ready to work with you again too. Let's not, you know, forget about that. We got more stuff to do together. So,
well, yeah, we all had to kind of go through a little, like you had a child that's had to grow up a bit, and we've all had to do a few things to get moving into a different realm. But along the way, you started Mystery Plan, which I think is the most badass throwback, real, just like that music right there is classic. It's
Well,
kind of
thank
it's got a
you.
timeless classicness to it. Like your other music is definitely can be dated, and you can see that it's from a techno, electronica kind of vibe, and you could even date the songs to drum beats and stuff. But the music you're doing with Mystery Plan is much more of like a classic, something I could see, just going down in a classic box set, in a different that would last for a long, eternity, So,
Dude, well, that's nice. That means a lot. And I got to tell you, I'm in my 40s, in my late 40s, and I'm just now getting to the part where I feel like what comes out, what you hear with what I play, is what I'm actually hearing in my head. Like I think I'm just now getting to where, okay, yeah, that sounds exactly like the way I heard it, in my head.
We've been fooled to think that you could do it. You can make this big record contract and get big when you're young and famous. But actually, what the real deal with music, if you don't have producers and such, it takes all those years to really develop and learn the craft and take it on the road and test it out and figure out how to make it work. And that's it. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's not really till your 40s that you're like, okay.
Yeah. I got to tell you, before, in my 20s, I had zero discipline. And and so, we would go on tour and just rage and party and do everything else. And there was no discipline. And so you never got better. You were just, it was weird. And I think when I got to my mid 30s, I kind of started over and was like, okay, what's the point of you doing this? Are you an artist or are you a fuck up, And so that's when I just started kind of hunkering down. And fast forward, 15 years later, and I think it's finally starting to come together. I think I can actually make the sounds I hear in my head now.
Well, you got a classic ear for production. That's a little different than what most people can even imagine, because you have the most amazing collection of music that people don't realize you had left, because you collected music in a record store. You had music from all around the world before the internet. And then people don't know this, but the story is that your house burned down and your whole collection burned up. So you actually lost a lot of that stuff and had to, recover it. And so at one time you had the most massive collection that was like a priceless collection that's probably withered down to 25% of that. But
I'm probably down to about, I would say, maybe 500 records, and I had 6,000 in my house when it burned down.
So sad. But with that, you have an ear for music that no one else could even possibly have, because you're like a real connoisseur in a different light. So like I said, if anyone ever wanted to make the big hit for the time, you just go to Jason. He'd be like, well, you just hit this beat like this, and there's going to be a drop here with the orchestra, and everything's going to fade out, and then boom, right back to it, and that's the hit. And Jason would be like,
oh, man. Well, I've been, hopefully there's a method to my madness, so.
Well, that China Mall song, even though you don't realize it, that's like one of the most, for me, that was the most highly produced thing I did, throughout my career. It's one of the most highly produced little pieces. And we just did it, in a quick little, it was before I started working in my own, when I was working for this other producer and stuff. Before I did that stuff, I came to you when you were working with you were working in a company. People don't know that you got a big history, but you were working in a company that made covers for commercials. Yeah. And so you'd be in the studio making cover songs that people would use like
karaoke.
Like here's like a Steve Miller song for karaoke or for a commercial.
Yeah.
Or, you could buy the royalty to the song.
Our royalties were cheaper than the originals, so they would always come to us,
That's so weird. But so you got a lot of experience there. So that's kind of those guys that helped record that one recording we did, and it was just like so high, so smooth. Yeah, with Paul Jensen,
Paul Jensen, yeah, man. Yeah.
So very fun times indeed. So with the Mystery Plan, you've been going for a good 5 years with them.
We released the first record, which was really just me and some players and Paul Jensen. in 2010.
Wow.
So this is our 10th year together.
Okay.
And
but the family mystery plan that I'm talking about, that the real live touring thing that you've been doing now.
Yeah, probably about 4 years. Yeah, we've maybe 3 years solid with the lineup that we have now, and it's been nice.
Oh, it's just, you got the family, you have your wife singing for you, right?
Oh yeah.
And then who else is in the group?
Our drummer is named Jeff Chester, and Otis Hughes is our bass player, and you might remember Otis from Animal Bag.
Yeah.
Back in the day, yeah, he's been our bass player for years and years now. And Patty McLaughlin plays flute and sings backup with Amy.
Yeah. So classic.
So yeah, so I mean, it's real small. We've gotten just kind of real tight and just real small, and there's just a few of us now, and we can kind of do the thing. It's real nice.
It's almost like for me, it's like a big city cocktail, like a cocktail sound. Like you could be playing New York City, LA, Miami. Like you could just be like right in the big city and like, the spots with that sound.
That's what I'm talking about. That cocktail sound. That's right.
It's amazing. Cause my music is like more like we'd be playing like in the redneck bar on the beach, with a bunch of people like, half drunk, having a brawl. And you'd be more like in the cocktail lounge, like in Miami. I could see it in Miami.
Well, man, I told one guy, I was doing an interview with a guy, and he was like, well, how would you describe it? And I was like, man, sometimes I feel like we're Lawrence Welk on drugs, And then sometimes we take it to the club, too, with some nice chill house beats or whatever. But yeah, I'm like Lawrence Welk on drugs, man.
Have you been in any movie soundtracks with that band?
Well, I did. About 3 years ago, I was approached by HBO to do some music for a documentary they were shooting, and so I think I cut 3 or 4 songs for them for that. They just kind of gave me an overview, gave me the script. And so I kind of wrote a few thematic things for those guys, and they accepted a couple of them. And then they got picked up by a different production company who had their own people doing music. So I got kind of pushed out of that one, and that was the last thing. I have stuff in some commercials. I did some. I think the last movie that was anything was Freaker, which was 15 years ago too. My goodness, wow. But yeah, that's about it.
But you've done you did a little bit of acting, some commercials and stuff too, so
Yeah, actually that HBO thing, whenever they got the new production company in to take over, this was like a year ago, then they called me and said, hey, sorry, we have a different music guy coming in and taking care of it. And I said, okay. And then he goes, but hey, we looked you up, and you look just like the guy that plays the murderer on this in this documentary. And we see you have acting. You have a ton of acting credits. Would you want to audition for the part? We'll put you right up to the top. And just because you look just like the guy that's the murderer. And so I was like, yeah. So I did that, and got like 3 callbacks, and I thought I was going to get that, and then I didn't. Wah, wah.
Well, you know how that is.
Yeah, that's Hollywood, man.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
So what's going on with 10 millimeter Mega other than this last production you've been working on? Are y'all putting out do y'all have like a little site and a little group of recordings you've been pushing lately?
Yeah. Working on the Occam's Portal album. We have a new compilation coming out in a few weeks called Midnight Special, and it's brand new tracks from Occam's Portal, us, Von Funkhauser, Heart of a Ghost. I think Latino Chrome, an oldie, a vintage from Latino Chrome, which is on there.
Which is your band from the day.
Yeah, yeah. And so we have that coming out, the Occam's Portal, and then we have a vinyl piece from the Mystery Plan coming out on the label in the summer.
Oh, okay.
And that's kind of where we're at. Oh, Von Funkhauser has a full length coming out this spring as well, and that's going to be more jazzy house music, more club music. That comes out on the label in the spring.
Okay.
So I think he has eight songs on that one.
All right. I think it's time for me to get into the 10 millimeter mega production.
Oh, dude. Yeah, dude.
Get y'all to produce me a single.
For real. Yeah. I mean, the last time we had you on a record was 2006 with a compilation that you guys were on. So yeah, I'm ready for you, baby.
I know. We both went on our own little journey for the last, 8 years or so, but we had to go and figure some stuff out and get it on another track. So I moved from the mountains to the coast, and you got the Mystery Plan going, and so we're in a new world now.
Yes, sir.
Have you guys played any shows this year at all?
No, it would be as of in like 2 weeks. It'll be 1 year since we've performed.
Oh man.
Yeah, and then we were supposed to go on tour in the springtime, and our first show was in Charlotte on Amy's birthday, and they shut everything down like the week before. And then we were going out on the road with doing shows with the Ocean Blue in the summer. And so that was like, 500 person venues, and I was excited about that. And then they shut all of that down, and then we just haven't been able to do anything since.
We were all getting ready to start the year. I mean, 2020 before the pandemic, I don't know.
Was going to be fucking awesome.
Going to be the biggest year ever. I was like, I had all my whole year lined up, and I was getting my health back. I was like, oh my God, it's going to be the biggest year ever. And then boom, I played.
Yep, same here.
For a few months, and I played like 5 gigs in 2020, but I made it to July 4th, but I got the COVID from a gig pretty much. I don't know if I got it from the gig. I'm living here on the beach, so
yeah,
I got it. So after that, I was like, I was not going to spread this. I'm not going to, I didn't mind me getting it and fighting it off, but I didn't want anybody around, because I live around a lot of friends that are older that Kirby takes care of and such. So we were just like, we got to lay low and be cool. I'm glad I got the antibodies because I don't really have to worry about it, but definitely don't want anyone in a weak situation, if their body's not doing well, to have to go through it, because it's not necessarily fun, so.
Right. Yeah.
But hopefully we'll get this, the vaccine going. And are your parents doing fine through all this?
Yeah, they just had their second shot, so they're doing good.
Yeah, it seems like all of our parents are getting their shots.
Yep.
So,
and I'm okay with laying low and waiting, let everybody else that's more vulnerable get theirs. I'm okay. I can lay low for the more vulnerable to get it. So
yeah, it's just a time to lay low and figure it out, I guess. And that's what I'm doing. I'm going crazy with podcasts and videos. And
well, yeah, I mean, after a few months, I was like, man, because I couldn't DJ out either anywhere. So I went to my dad, who has a radio station down in Columbia, and approached him. And so I get to still DJ for everybody on the radio, on an internet station every week. And, it's, at least I can get that going. And you have your podcast, and we just got to keep busy,
That's the main thing. Just keep on moving, and new days are to come. I'm sure it'll have to fizzle out eventually, right?
Yeah. I'm not worried. We're just going to have to hunker down and just bite the bullet for a few more months. And if we do that, then we can all start opening back up, late summer, no prob. I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, the main thing is just as a musician lately, I've been just back to practicing real hard, because I started just to forget everything. And I was like, man, because I've only gone a few times for, like 8 months without playing fully live, Yeah. I think only 3 times in my career have I gone this long without playing with the band. You start to forget real quick. You start to lose the little tricks,
And the nice calluses I've had built up on my fingers are kind of
yeah.
gone. And so now I go to play guitar and it's like, ow, ow, after like 15, 20 minutes.
Oh,
It's
this
like,
summer
man.
was like for me because I usually do 3 shows a night, 3 shows a week, you know, and I'll do like 4-hour shows. And so in the summertime, I'm doing that continually. And so I can handle the 4-hour shows. But this last summer, I only did like a show a month and my fingers would be bleeding by the second hour. I'll be up there. Oh my God, I can't do another lead.
Yeah. Yep. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
I know how that is. Man.
Well,
Dude,
I think it'll be okay, man. It'll be like riding a bike. We'll be, you know, I'm going to be like you. I'm just going to start practicing more now, getting my dexterity back. And, you know, so by the time summer hits, it'll be all righty.
have you booked anything?
No, our agent still he hasn't gotten the green light from anyone yet. So I'm just waiting on him, you know.
I've booked like 3 tentative gigs just for in August. I've just left it out to August, and that's where I'm starting with. And I've been offered some stuff earlier, but I'm just like, hey, I'm not going to take anything. I'm just going to tentatively start in August, and we'll see.
August. That's what I would say. That's a safe bet. I would say, yeah, late summer we could start doing shows again once everybody's vaccinated.
If people call for something earlier, things get better, we can do that. But around here, people book so far in advance that you just kind of, you know, it's like that's how it is nowadays. But the booking is crazy. But anyways, so anyways, I truly appreciate talking to you today, and this is such an interesting interview. Everybody's gonna love it. Everybody on Facebook, got people tuning in right now. 5 people on my Facebook.
Good. Hi, everybody.
And you know, we have little small crowds and everything, but you know, you just keep on rocking around here. It's really worth it, you know, just to keep the music going. Is there anything?
It really is. I keep trying to quit, and it just, you know, I just can't. It just, you know, once I'm quiet for a few minutes, the song starts building up in my head, and I got to go, you know, write it and record it, or I'm going to freak out, you know.
Yeah. Are there any tricks that you're using to keep yourself motivated during this time that you could give to the younger generation of artists and musicians out there?
Well, I don't know if I would try to gear my sound toward those guys, the younger audience. I think it's just getting them to hear what we have going on, mainly.
But if anyone's tuning in right now, what kind of advice would you give them to keep them motivated in a time when there's just no work and you're kind of on your own?
Just keep writing and producing and making stuff. And once everything is opened back up or whatever, you'll have a plethora of material to choose from, and you'll still be keeping your chops up and writing, you know?
Exactly.
I'd say just if you're sitting there watching TV, have your guitar in your lap, or, you know, go just dibble on the keyboard for a little bit every day and just see what happens, you know.
Keep it moving, because this could be over tomorrow and you want to be prepared.
Yeah. I mean, it's really cool. Like, I was getting depressed. I was like, I'm not writing anything. And, you know, a couple of months ago, I went back and looked, you know, I've got like 12 new songs that I've kind of written. And I'm like, well, wait, man, I've got like a whole new album, you know?
Not just that, you got a
even
whole,
realize it.
not just that, but you're a legend with a whole history. How many albums do you think that how many recordings and albums do you think you produced in your history?
Oh my. I'm going to say 40.
Wow. That's amazing. So you're a legend.
35 to 40. Yeah.
And right now, your latest material for the Mystery Plan, if somebody was on Spotify or iTunes, what would you want them to look up?
Try our latest album, Jaja, that came out in 2020. Okay. And it's got John Fryer, who he produced Cocteau Twins and This Mortal Coil and Love and Rockets. He produced the album with me. And, you know, the guy from Pale Saints, Ian Masters, plays on a song and produces a song with me. And it's really cool.
How cool.
I would go check that one out. Jaja. And it's available everywhere.
I have checked it out, and it is a hit album through and through. It's like one of those kind of albums you could just sit down with your girl and chill, pour yourself a bottle of pull out a bottle of wine and just, it's perfect for hanging out with the girl, hanging out with the
thank
loved
you,
one
man.
in the living room, hanging out with the friends, and just having a nice conversation. It is the ultimate chill material. So,
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
yeah,
That
brother.
means a lot coming from you. I'm glad you like it.
Well, we're going to hear more from you in the future. And Jason, you and I will be recording soon. And
Yes,
trading
please. That
off
would be
stuff.
great.
And y'all don't miss the mystery plan. Check out 10mm Omega recordings and all his stuff in the past. And we love you, Jason. You've been the best friend for many years and a brother. So you're part of the
I
family.
love you, Mark. You're the best. And I love all you guys out there.
Yeah, big love and unity from the Dubb. And we'll talk to you in a little while, Jason. All right?
All right, man. Take care.
Have a good one. Later.
Bye-bye.
All right, everybody. That is Dubbcast number 20 with Jason Herring. We hope everybody enjoyed the Dubbcast tonight. It was phenomenal. Great times indeed. Tune in to the next segment with the Acousticast in just a little while. I'll be breaking out from songs from the last 30 years. All right. Big love and unity from the Dubb. Thanks again for tuning in. The Dubbcast is brought to you by Carl Heverly Surf. Check them out at carlheverlysurf.com. Everything from 10-foot longboards to pocket thrusters, all handmade at carlheverlysurf.com. Check us out on the SELAHDUBB.com network, as well as SELAH Dubb here on Facebook, Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, any of your major networks. Join us on our new forum on Patreon, on the SELAH Dubb Patreon site. Big love and unity from the Dubb. Thanks for tuning in. Check us out on the next segment in just a few minutes. The Acousticast is next.